Welcome back, guys, for part 2. This is my review on episodes 5 to 8. Episode 5, Witches of Eastwick, I've called this one because this is where she gets the girlfriends to come over. But Meghan starts off this episode driving herself. There was no great big motorcade. There wasn't armed security guards around her. I guess it wasn't quite in keeping with love, Meghan being surrounded by lots of men with guns to keep any passers-by well back from her. You know, she's a very important person, didn't you know? No, this down-to-earth episode is all about flower arranging, and she references back to her £500,000 baby shower that got her into learning how to display blooms correctly. This time, however, Meghan didn't send the flowers after she and her friends were done with them to sick children and then got them to pose for photographs to be released to the media. There's lots of references throughout her brief time that she was a royal, and we all know why. It's because it's all that she has got. Hence the push to call herself Meghan Sussex. Of course, dressed in another head-to-toe white outfit with naturally edible flowers on display ready to go, this episode was about getting her girls round and making a lovely table ready for presentation for them. And as I said, when they arrived, I was getting absolute Witches of Eastwick vibes, especially when they're all cackling and drinking their mimosas. There was so much of, you're amazing, no, you're amazing, you're both so amazing, everybody's so amazing in this. It made me want to vomit. We, of course, get a fun story as well where Meghan explains to the women that they're going to be having fish and salad for lunch, and what gave her the idea to cook this particular fish, salted fish, is because Archie once on holiday caught a fish and Meghan told her son excitedly, we're going to pack it in lots of salt and we're going to bake it because kids love that stuff. And Meghan even references, because when you tap it, it's all crusty. And I can imagine a 5-year-old Archie being overcome with joy and excitement as these two ladies were. Obviously, it's going to be nowhere near as much fun as the party bags that Meghan gives out to children with the miniature gardening tools. Or is it going to be as exciting as another crudité board which soon makes an appearance? But this was no ordinary crudité board. Meghan takes a moment. She likes to have a whole segment explaining the importance of mixing up the colours, creating beauty. But this one had something super special done to it. She giggles as she says, do you know what I like to do to make it that extra special? I slice peas open and I place pea pods down because, you know, magic. Meghan, honestly, I cannot contain myself at this point. Meghan finishes the crudité board as she giggles as she sprinkles, you've guessed it, more dead flowers. Harry gets a mention in this episode, finally. I mean, we've all been waiting patiently to hear about H, and we are told by Kelly that Harry is an amazing chef. Now, brace yourself. Do you want to know the culinary delights that Prince Harry can create that's so magical? Kelly is practically salivating at the thought of it. Scrambled eggs. One of the girls, I lost track of who it was because they all look the same, the Stepford sisters, says, get out. And I'm thinking, no, get out. Seriously, get out. I am losing brain cells as we speak, especially when they start applauding each other over creating a salad vinaigrette and some moist fish. But the best laugh, oh, well, that's saved when the ladies are all having their lunch outside. And Meghan shares a really cute anecdote about little Lily, who's apparently got a dolly, okay? This is so super cute. Her dolly is called Stella Alfresco. Yes, her 3-year-old. And this point, Abigail says, oh, because she can only eat outside. And Meghan's like, yeah, oh, adorable. When they later had dessert, however, I think that was the final moment for me when I knew that I was done. If this episode didn't end immediately, I was definitely going to quit. And that was when Meghan, with hair dangling forward, served the ladies little desserts, and she put in some of her preserves with some store-bought ice cream. She put little mint leaves on top, a little sprinkling, and handed it to the women, who then took a spoonful and were like, oh my God, again, like it was the best thing that they had ever tasted in their life. Everybody praising her like she is some culinary genius, you know. Martha Stewart, watch out. There was a feature, an extra feature on this, the piece de resistance, as some people would say, and that is dead flowers, no longer on the food, but now in ice cubes. I mean, voila. What else could anybody possibly want for a dinner party that hasn't obviously been on Pinterest and in cookbooks since maybe the 80s? I'm not quite sure, but it's been around. In fact, every single recipe that Meghan does, and she presents it to her friends, a lot of them are rich women as well. They've dined in fine dining for many, many years, and they're going, oh, Meghan, oh, Meghan, oh, Meghan. But I'm not sure all of those restaurants sprinkled dead flowers on everything, so that might be it. Episode 6, the one with lots of other rich friends. Now, if you're not bored of flowers already and seeing flowers being thrown on frittata, hummus, crudités and anything else that Meghan prepares for her friends, buckle up for this one. This isn't about dead flowers. This is actually about flower arranging again, but this is a more dedicated episode of how you can make incredible presentations using blooms, that when Meghan leaves this place, she's got so many expensive flowers in her arms in a tub, we would probably have to remortgage our houses to be able to afford to do so at a time when many people can struggle to put food on their plate. This is Meghan being really relatable and down to earth. But she is actually aware of this and adds in a point to say that you can deconstruct store-bought flowers, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you can. You can buy a cheap bunch of flowers. Obviously, she doesn't. That's for peasants. But you can actually deconstruct them. You can chop them down and you can put them in different vases. I mean, this is amazing. Where has this show been all my life? Now, for this episode, this is Meghan inviting more rich girlfriends round, and this is for game night. Meghan has decided that she's going to make them tacos, and she starts spouting about her love of Mexican food growing up, and then goes quiet because she's probably just remembered a couple of episodes ago she was brought up as a latchkey kid on TV dinners, wasn't she? She was brought up in poverty. It's like the brain went, oh yeah, forgot that. And then she starts boring the TV crew on how to make banana chips or plantain chips, you know, for a nice little snack. Honestly, even making a simple snack, she's boring me to death. So Meghan does not do this episode on her own. She has Mexican chef Ramon Velasquez, who is going to be there to make it more bearable for the viewer. But hearing Meghan dancing and saying, it's tinga time, I'm thinking, is he going to be enough to save me from stopping myself shoving a fork through my eyeball? In this episode, we had Meghan doing her lovely little segment and talking to people about how you can dehydrate citrus fruit, all the things that you can do with citrus fruit. You can make tea bags, you can make bath bombs, you can try and put a piece down your throat and to choke yourself on purpose to make this show end quicker. There's lots of multi-purposes that you can use dry fruit for. The excitement peaked when Tracy Robbins appears, the wife of the head of Paramount. I can't think why that Meghan picked her as a friend. Better yet, 3 minutes later, they were making cocktails in mason jars. I mean, how exciting. And of course, getting constant praise from everybody about her incredible cooking skills and the fact that she can throw some alcohol in a jar and give it a shake. Episode 7, My Dear Friend Vicky. This one, I would say, if it wasn't so far into this hell show, I would have possibly said it was the best because I actually really liked Vicky. She was really watchable. She talked about Japanese philosophy. She has her own brand of skincare. She was genuinely interesting. The food looked amazing. But Meghan giggled her way through this episode like a teenage girl in a sex education class. Everything Vicky said, Meghan's like, It made it really painful. And as you can tell, I'm getting really, really tired and cranky at this point. Meghan starts off being so down to earth and relatable, of course, where she goes into the vast garden, which you know has several gardeners looking after it, and she picks out lots of veggies and stuff to include because she's making her friend a lovely gift for her arrival, and that is a harvest basket that she can take home. And Meghan talks about how she made her one before, and it's very clearly obvious as Meghan is saying, I do understand that, not everybody has access to a garden like this. I'm honestly surprised by episode 7 I haven't heard Meghan say, let them eat cake. I have seen the headlines of a couple of reviews, which I haven't been allowed to read because obviously I needed to do this, where they are comparing her to Marie Antoinette, and I'm honestly not surprised. When Vicky arrives, Meghan hands her a lovingly made coffee, and she does that thing I said about where she hands her the coffee. All of the camera crew are now focused on Vicky as Meghan's like, what do you think, Vicky? What do you think, Vicky? And Vicky's like, oh yes, it's amazing, it's lovely. Vicky passed, Vicky got her harvest basket handed to her. And of course, lots of praise and adoration went back and forth, mostly in part for Meghan. There was a lovely moment with Vicky talking to Meghan about Japanese philosophy and talking about when women are broken, the cracks are what make us beautiful women. And Meghan turned it into a thing you could tell where she's saying she knows all about being broken. Barely survivable what Meghan went through, and you're just thinking to yourself, yep, here she goes again. Nobody can forget that Meghan went through the hardest thing that anybody has ever experienced and been through in their entire life, and she's certainly not going to let people forget it any more than she's going to let people forget that she's married a prince and she's a mother to a prince and a princess. Now, in this episode of Meghan rewriting her history as well, she explains to Vicky that she travelled so much with her mother when she was younger because her mother worked as a travel agent, and she shows 2 photographs because we all know that Doria was absent, I believe, for about 10 years in Meghan's life, really. But of course, Doria was the one that brought Meghan up, and I personally at this point, I think Thomas Markle should send Doria the bill. From what I understand, Doria's not doing too bad for herself these days. Now, as for this episode on the whole, I like this one like I liked the Korean chef Roy Choi, because they're really likeable people and they kind of saved the episode a little bit, but because Meghan makes it obviously more about her, because this is her show, it really does ruin it. And I'm not joking, in this episode, everything that Vicky did, Meghan's like, what are you doing? Just stop it, just stop it, just stop it. Episode 8, I made it. Oh yes, I made it. This one is all to do with the brunch party. This is the one that was used for the promos, for the trailers. We've seen photographs going round of Harry. Doesn't look too happy to be there, in all honesty. And this is all about the final bit of Meghan laying out a gorgeous party to celebrate her business, to remind everybody that she makes preserves now. There's lots of dead flowers, there's lots of crudités, you name it, everything is out there. So this episode is about Meghan learning how to perfect hosting the perfect party. And she ropes in Alice Waters. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know who Alice Waters was. It's when she said everything that Alice has done for the world. So I'm like, oh, okay, so who's this then? And I Googled it. And she is a food writer. She is an author. She's a restaurateur. She's a chef. And yes, I mean, in that industry, I'd imagine that she's very high up, but for the world, it baffled me a little bit. But this was Meghan. I hadn't seen this in the last 7 episodes. This was Meghan activating love bombing. Oh, wow. And she goes in big here. I was just honestly, just shocked. I suppose that was the perfect expression. I was like, this is just embarrassing. Surely Alice was embarrassed at this point, especially when Meghan turns to the TV crew and she does fake acting, obviously, because this whole entire series has been fake. She goes, I'm so embarrassed because this is like you guys watching me fall in love with Alice. Push it down. You can do this. This is episode 8. How long can this episode be? Apparently too long. too long. Once the love bombing had calmed down a bit, you know, Meghan then decided to talk about the impoverished childhood that she had again, about how she grew up with very little of anything. She didn't eat right, and it does make a difference to you. And this is where Alice is saying, yes, it's so important. You know, obviously Meghan forgetting eating out at all these luxury restaurants and everything.
This dish reminded me of the kind of food that I grew up eating in California, like that real sort of farm to table, fresh, really simple ingredients.
Meghan then takes Alice into the garden to collect veggies and things for her crudité board. And she seems to forget that she's told people in episode 1 this isn't her garden. She's like, oh, that's our rosemary bush. This is our garden. So a real slip of the tongue there. But it's when she then tries to be relatable again, right? This makes me laugh. She says that anybody can have this, right, Alice? It's like what you teach, even if you're in a tiny flat in a tower block in London. Well, she may not have said a tower block, but if I think of a flat in London, that's generally what I think of. She's like, yes, they can just grow something in the windowsill box. And I'm thinking to myself, in London, yeah, okay, what are they going to grow, Meghan? Right, a few basil leaves or something? Is she kidding? Let them eat cake moment. Let them grow something on their windowsill. But it's not long before it's back to Meghan getting praise or demanding that Alice gives her praise, because they're going to make quiche. So Meghan gets eggs from her very own chickens, and she tells Alice this as she cracks the eggs in and goes, oh, look at this, doesn't this look amazing? Which Alice goes, oh, I've never seen yolks like that ever. And I'm thinking, really? In all the years, Alice? All the years of organic cooking, you've never seen a yolk like that? No, of course not, because it's Meghan's yolk. Meghan laid the eggs herself. We even see Meghan go out to the chicken coop. That was a segment in this one as well. It was so special. She goes in to see the chickens. She dumps an iced salad for them, which the chickens ignore and don't like. And then she goes and opens up the chicken coop. All of the eggs from all of the chickens are in the same bit, the same nest. The eggs are pristine and polished. There's no poop, no feathers, no nothing on them. And I'm thinking to myself, this is as fake as this show can get right now, because anybody that's got chickens knows that nothing is that clean at all. But this is Meghan, and this is Meghan's world, and we're all just living in it at this point, or trying to just get through this final episode. When I nearly broke and I thought I can't do this anymore, was when Meghan writes out the menu and she is talking to the viewer. This is one of her special segments, a Meghan moment. And she gets a plain sheet of paper and she gets a plastic line template, and then she tells the viewer, if you don't have lines on your paper, you can get a template and then you use a light pencil and then you put the lines on. So then, you know, you're writing straight, but you only use the light pencil because you need to rub it off afterwards. And I'm thinking to myself, if I could slap a person through the screen right now, I'm very tempted. I'm very tempted. So after 5 minutes of Meghan waffling on and telling people how they can write a menu and how they can use a stencil, Meghan then has an outfit change and the guests start arriving, including her husband, who, as I said, looked like that he, you know, didn't really want to be there. Meghan has naturally written all of notes everywhere, and she's written down exactly what everybody's eating, just in case, you know, one of her friends might have an allergy or something. And it's all about, oh, Meghan, that's amazing. Meghan, that's wonderful. Meghan, this is divine. And Meghan does tell them, oh, well, I didn't make the salad. You know, Alice helped me with that. Honestly, I have never watched anything so painful in my entire life, guys. I did it. I love you. I know my review might be a little bit late compared to others, but I got through it. Meghan said throughout, we are not in the pursuit of perfection, we're in the pursuit of joy. It's so many taglines throughout this. There were so many puns throughout this. The amount of dead flowers in there. They made it into the finals. She made dead flower cookies. Dead flowers for everybody on absolutely everything. Dead flowers on fish, lovely. I mean, that's amazing. Frittatas, yes. Crudités, yes. Anything that you can think of. Everything just has a little air of magic to it if you sprinkle on some dead flowers. And don't forget the ice cubes. Were there any teachable moments? No, not really. Only learning about the many jobs that Meghan had as a child as she was forced into slave labour, the poverty that she grew up in, TV dinners, a latchkey kid. Oh, it's enough to make a glass eye weep, honestly. So my final review of this show, it was beige, it was bland, and I'm not just talking about her wardrobe choices. It was so boring, it was condescending, it was patronising, it was a narcissistic snore fest. There was nothing revolutionary. There were no tidbits that I could take away. There is nothing in there that's going to change the world. Well, except maybe London, because there's now people in London tower blocks so inspired that they've got chickens and they're growing some basil out of their windowsill box just so they can have a little bit of Meghan's magic. It was completely out of touch as everybody expected. It wasn't relatable at all, unless of course you are a multi-millionaire yourself, and I'd imagine it's right up your street. As expected, it was less about bringing magic and beauty to everyday things for the average person and more, if not all, to do with Meghan elevating Meghan. As I said earlier, it was heavy on the praise for herself, light on the humility. Meghan, in my opinion, is not the bringer of fun and joy. She is the destroyer of fun and joy. She can suck fun out of any dinner party, that's for certain. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I will be back with you very soon with some real royal news. And then, of course, we need to talk about Meghan and Drew Barrymore. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Take care for now. Bye.